America, welcome to the Business Pulse. I'm Chuck Barham, your host, joined by Rod Martin of Martin Capital and the Martin Report online at rodmartin.org. Also, Dean Owen of Owen CPA. You can find him online at owencpa.com. This is the Business Pulse, brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, the pro-American business network, online at freedomchamber.net. Many topics to discuss, as we talked about off air. Let's start with the government shutdown. Rod Martin, your thoughts?
Well, it's just glorious. We're Donald Trump is the only Republican ever to win a shutdown. And, that was 35 days, longest ever shutdown, late December 2018, January of 2019. And, if you listen to the media spin it, of course, that isn't true. But in reality, the polling was the polling. And Trump won that conclusively. All other shutdowns, it didn't matter if the Republicans controlled Congress, didn't matter if they controlled the White House, but not Congress, whatever it was, the media managed to say consistently that it was the Republicans' fault, that they were the ones being intransigent. Donald Trump beat that trend in the first term. Now, what's happening today is the Democrats are shutting down the government to get $1 trillion borrowed dollars for Medicaid for illegal aliens. It's just mind-numbing. I don't know how you get dumber. I mean, I understand they're appealing to their base. They're actually doing a good job of delivering to their base what their base voted for. So I applaud that. But it's anti-American. It's horrifying. And Donald Trump is going to beat them like a rented mule on this. Plus, Russ Vought, who is head of the Office of Management and Budget, good friend, Southern Baptist, also Elon's successor running Doge. Russ has had a plan for how to use a shutdown for about 5 years. We're going to slash and burn because the president has the authority to determine which functions are essential and which are non-essential. And historically, Republican presidents played along, just maintained the status quo. We furlough workers, we bring them back with back pay after the shutdown. Wrong. None of that's going to happen here. Trump is going to lay people off permanently. They're going to be gone. And if he replaces any, he'll be replacing them with his picks. And if he doesn't replace them, we're all going to be better off. There are 2.8 million federal workers, and we need a fraction of that. And we need them to not be socialists who are working against the president's agenda all day long. That's about to happen.
That's fantastic insight. Dean, I welcome yours.
Well, and I could not add anything more to what Rod said, and I couldn't differ from that at all. But, it's like, every 6, 7, 8 years we do this, and it's, oh my God, the world's going to end, the world's going to end, the world's going to end. Oh my God, oh my God. It's the world's not going to end. You're going to get some, today there are no IRS agents harassing taxpayers, and there are some federal government workers who we wish were still on staff who probably aren't, but there's a lot of them that we, thank God, why are we funding any non-essential services ever? Oh my God, we got to lay off the non-essential services. Well, why didn't we do that a long time ago? So, the world keeps moving. We're here. We might get a delay in the jobs report number, and we might get a delay here or there, but, this time we may actually save a lot of money with this shutdown. And that's what we need to do. And we go right back to this president as a businessman. He's not a politician. He doesn't think like a politician. He thinks like a businessman. We're going to talk a little bit about how he generates revenue and cuts cost. Well, this is a cost-cutting maneuver. And, what amazes me is I have to just sit in awe because this president thinks so far ahead. And he's much, much more visionary than I will ever be. But he thinks so far ahead, and then he sets these traps. He lays them open. And then he's very transparent about everything. I mean, he's the easiest guy in the world to understand. He told them, the Democrats, this is what he's going to do. And they still fell hook, line, and sinker. How he has orchestrated an environment where he can pull this off in such a way that he's the hero that the Republicans win, when, like Rod said, we always lose, it's just mind-blowing, and it's a pleasure to see. It's the master at his craft at work.
Amen.
I have lost audio, Michael. I don't know what
Uh-oh.
happened. There we go. We're back.
There we go.
See, they were trying to shut us down. Wrong button to push out there in DC, boys. Wrong button. We're not governmental here. We're capitalists.
We're
I didn't
essential.
exactly. I didn't get to hear your last part, but I want to dovetail it into the jobs report that came out. ADP had their report, private sector jobs down 32,000. What will that look like when you have these layoffs / furloughs / government shutdown over the next 2-3 weeks? It could drag out even further. What will that do to the report as we look into October?
Well,
My
unemployment's
thoughts
going
are,
to go up in Northern Virginia a good
Yes.
bit, and that's pretty exciting, actually. That's going to be really rough on the Democrat senators who went along with this foolishness. But as far as the jobs report more generally, getting away from the government reform aspect, what it means is that the Fed has inappropriately kept its finger on the button, just pressing the economy down for months with these ridiculous high interest rates. They should be another, I don't know, 275 basis points lower than they are. And it's just absurd. We have the highest interest rates of any industrialized country by a ridiculous margin. There's no excuse for it at all. So now that cutting is beginning, and now that Donald Trump is getting his own people on the board of governors at the Fed, I think we're going to see all of this take off. As you see the investment he has raised, $10 trillion in new investment from outside into manufacturing in the United States. As you see those things come to pass, you're going to see an employment boom, but it's going to lag that investment a little bit. I wouldn't worry about it. This is not recessionary. This is the beginning of an upswing.
I did like one thing that he did say, I believe, on a social media tweet on Truth Social. It talked about the deal, the 100% tariff on pharmaceuticals. He goes, if you're building and constructing and there's dirt being moved on the ground in U.S., it won't apply to you. I think he's getting tired of people playing the cards late in the game and kind of doing the shell game. Well, we're going to do it, then they don't do it. So I think he really laid the law down, which was great to see. And Dean, I welcome your thoughts on the unemployment figures, and you're spot on, Rod, on another point with the interest rates.
well,
I think that's the spark we need.
I think we're going to go through probably the rest of this year, maybe into first quarter next year, correcting a lot of problems. Government employment's one of them, and yes, it'll shoot the employment numbers up to some degree. And we've got some pain we need to do and get through, and we need to pull the Band-Aid off and just get on about it. And that's what we're doing. But you got to remember, what is the next biggest goal that we all have and we all need to be focused on is the midterms. So if we need to go through some difficult stuff now so that we straighten out our economy for next year and we have a booming, amazing economy going into the midterms, this president gets it. He's playing a master's card. He's the ringleader and doing some great stuff. But if we got to have a little bit of a higher unemployment, we see that just in a short period so that we can straighten out the problems we've got with, get manufacturing started, get this investment, start putting plows to the ground and start digging holes for foundations and footers, then let's go through this process. Let's get this started right now so that by this time next year, our economy is screaming and we walk into the midterms in a really good position.
Well, and
Absolutely.
the good news for our Democrat friends who are about to get laid off by the federal government is that since they're so important and so highly skilled, in the new Trump economic boom, they will have no trouble finding better jobs than they had in Washington. So we encourage them to be excited about that, and maybe they'll vote for us in the midterms too.
So, Rod, what you're saying is make sure they've got their resume nice and tight and crisp. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, indeed.
We're getting on the backside of this break. We're coming up to a hard break here, gents. We're going to talk about tariffs, what they're doing, what they're bringing in, and we're going to talk about American coal. This is the Business Pulse. We'll be right back.
Hey, the Freedom Chamber is amazing. I'm so glad that we get to be here on the Freedom Chamber's Business Pulse. This is an organization you should support. It's an organization of which you should be a member. The Freedom Chamber is getting important things done in this country. And honestly, we need spaces for people who believe the sorts of things that if you're watching this, you probably do. We have gone through this extended period of not just canceling individuals, but just boycotting businesses and doing terrible things, debanking. Nigel Farage, who is likely to be the next prime minister of the United Kingdom, was actually debanked by all the major banks in the United Kingdom. And of course that happens here, and we get de-insured and all these terrible things. The Freedom Chamber is fighting for you. The Freedom Chamber is here to make sure that you're protected, that your values matter, they count, and they're in the public square. So I encourage everybody to join the Freedom Chamber.
Welcome back, America, to the Business Pulse, brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, online at freedomchamber.net, the pro-American business network. If you own a small business, know somebody that owns a small, mid-sized business, this is where they need to be. Sign up today at freedomchamber.net. Rod Martin, Dean Owen, back in the Business Pulse, and we're going to talk about tariffs. We've had 2 back-to-back record-breaking months of $62.6 billion brought in tariffs. Would you say they're working, Dean?
Definitely. The illusions and the delusions and the lies and just the filth around tariffs. Tariffs have normally been used to limit market access and to prevent market access. This is meant to improve an economy. It's still allow product to come into the country at reasonable prices, but to shore up manufacturing, shore up national defense, shore up the things that we need to shore up in our economy. One of my companies does import product from China because we can't get it anywhere else, and the Chinese company has eaten the price. So there's storylines about the American taxpayer pays all the tariffs and all that stuff. There's a mix of both. There's not a clear one-line attack. It's complicated like everything else, but this president is a businessman. This is revenue. And when a business needs revenue and it needs to grow and it's got deficits, you go look for sources of revenue. Well, Donald Trump is bringing a businessman's approach to government. We need more revenue. And this is a really good way to do it. It's a really good way to capitalize and increase investment in America. We've got all these dollars coming in the tariffs that, I've said before, our relationship with China is like that of an abused spouse. If America were your daughter and she were dating China, you would make her get away from that guy because he's beating on her. And this is the tool we use. And he's not doing it with bombs. He's changing our relationships. And our relationship with China has to change. Our relationship with the Middle East has to change. And as a very, very, very last resort, this president will use bombs and force, but he's going to use capitalism first. And that's what he's doing. And they're working. Glorious things are happening, and it's smart, and it's people that don't understand and don't have enough faith in this president and what he's doing, think they're not smart enough to figure out what he's doing. And even when they see success, they won't admit it. So they're the ones screaming. Rod and I both have been screaming for months that these tariffs are, they're just a necessary tool. Nobody likes tariffs as an overriding theme. We would all love free, fair trade, but if they're not going to give it to us, we got to do the same thing to them they're doing to us.
Well, there are 3 levels on which the tariffs are absolutely working. The first and foremost is just an adjustment to the reality that though I may be a free trader and you may be a free trader, we don't have anything remotely resembling free trade. Free trade is what Florida has with Georgia. There are no trade barriers between Florida and Georgia because the U.S. Constitution mandates that. I don't have that deal with Germany. I don't have that deal with India. Anybody who pretends I have that deal with Mexico is either ignorant of the situation or lying to you, because the truth is all of these countries have lopsided deals with us and have for most of 70 years. So why? Well, because coming out of World War II, most of our allies and some of our enemies we wanted to become allies were flattened, and we had to help them get their economies off the ground. And we needed to keep them on side. We didn't want them defecting to the Soviet bloc. We didn't want to lose the Cold War. So we created this entire system where we pay most of the bill for NATO. We let Germany hit us with 4 times the auto tariff that we hit them with. We let India get away with 100% tariff on Harley Davidson. And we don't complain. And we just go along to get along. And that plan worked, but it's been obsolete since the end of the Cold War. So on the first level, Donald Trump is fixing that. We're getting to something in the direction of free trade by opening foreign markets to U.S. producers. That's essential, and that's essential to your audience. Second, we are actually achieving a reshoring of industry, which means good and good paying jobs for American citizens to create the things that we constantly buy. This isn't rocket science. This is just saying to our foreign friends, look, if you want access to the U.S. market, we want you to actually build stuff in the U.S. market. This is not crazy, and Trump is accomplishing that. The third thing, of course, is revenue. And look, tariff revenue is great. I am a free trader. I wish there were no tariffs, but since there are, I'll just give you an analogy. Here in Florida, we're working on abolishing property tax. We already abolished the income tax. We are obviously disproportionately dependent on sales tax. You know why that's a great idea? First, because I don't have to choose to buy any particular thing. And so I can control what I pay in tax. But second, and crucially, 100 million tourists a year pay that sales tax. Floridians get a huge subsidy. And that's exactly what's happening with the tariffs. Trump gets it. His opponents in both parties really don't.
That's exactly right. I mean, tariffs are working. They're going to work. I think in today's society, people are just so used to immediate fixes, scrolling through social media. They want the immediacy. Things like this, and that's a huge ship that's got to retact and get back in the right direction. So over time, I think we're going to see it happen. And one of the things that's happening right now is America, believe it or not, is investing in America. $625 million America is going to put back, the U.S. Energy Department is going to put back into American coal. Energy prices have been on the rise coast to coast. Hopefully this is a fix for some of it as we put back $625 million into the American coal, which President Trump said he was going to do. When he campaigned in Pennsylvania, he made a promise. We will get American coal. We'll get American steel back to the top. Rod, your thoughts?
We used to call America the Saudi Arabia of coal. These days, we're also the Saudi Arabia of oil. So, we're number one. It's amazing. Talk about making America great again. We're the world's largest producer of all this stuff. And we're getting our allies to buy it from us instead of Russia or Qatar. And that's a huge, huge deal. Coal is a part of that mix, weirdly enough, because we can sell it to China. And China needs coal like crazy. And that'll be part of the trade deal ultimately. But coal is good energy, and we've got technology now to make burning it pretty clean. Probably in some respects cleaner than those awful bird blenders we've put all over California. These awful wind turbines that are absolutely do more environmental harm than good. So coal is good. Coal miners' jobs are good. And you can kill coal with regulation the way Obama tried to do. Or I would suggest this idea. Perhaps if you want rid of coal, you could get a market solution by deploying the nuclear power plant fleet that America should have and that Donald Trump is pushing us toward. We will have abundant, cheap energy by the time he's done. And coal will be part of the mix, but probably not forever.
One of the things that we don't think about and we need to be thinking about is nations that have low cost, very abundant energy live free, they live prosperous, they bring their people out of poverty, they have high education rates. All of that it's about energy. Energy is a national defense issue. You've got to have energy to build ships, to build tanks. energy as much a national defense issue as our F-47 fighter planes. So energy in all forms. None of us are against clean energy. We're all for the best forms of energy there are. And of course, as Rod mentioned, the best, cleanest, cheapest, most environmentally friendly energy is nuclear. We will get there. We're not there yet. We have to go through transitions. We can't push one button and, turn one, this is changing over to a nuclear powered economy is a valve, not a switch. You have to turn one up, and it takes a while for the water and temperature to come up, but we got to go through a transition. It's going to take a decade or more. But here in my hometown, Department of Energy has announced a massive nuclear program. So it is going forward, but it's going to take time. And coal is the transition fuel. Our natural gas is the transition fuel. And we also kind of see what's happening in Russia with Ukraine going on. Ukraine is starting to make serious dents in the Soviet Union's or Russia's energy capacity and their ability to make fuel and sell oil. So the last reports I saw was they're down about 17%, and this continuing to go forward. And the president's going to send them weapons to just annihilate their oil production. That puts Russia in a very difficult spot. That means Europe will not be buying oil from them. They'll be buying it from us. We're going to need all the energy sources we can get. And coal is a really good one. There's a reason we've been burning coal for so long. And we need to continue until we can fully transition to another energy source.
I appreciate
Yeah,
you
and by the
both
way, we
very much.
have
Go
a-
ahead, Rod. Go ahead, bud.
We have a deep dive on the Russia-Ukraine situation up on rodmartin.org just yesterday. Yes, Dean is exactly
You stole my
right.
thunder, Rod. You stole my thunder. I was going to
Oh,
don't
good.
tell that. Go
Yep,
ahead. Go
so-
ahead. Go ahead. My
17%
party.
of Russia's oil production capacity is offline. It'll take years to fix it, and they're not going to fix it because Ukraine's going to keep blowing it up, and they're on track to kill another 30%. Russia is about to not be able to meet its own energy needs, which is a bit of a problem for them because they're basically a gas station with a country. So they've got to end this war. Trump has given them an off ramp. They haven't taken it yet. I get why Putin doesn't want to get assassinated, but he needs to just up his security and make peace, or this is going to be the end of Russia one way or another.
Absolutely. I was just going to give the Martin report props, and you beat me to it, Rod, because that was spot on.
Before.
Hey, we're up against a hard
Rod and I-
break, gentlemen. I've got to wrap up the segment. Go ahead, Dean. Final thought, then we'll get into where we can find you both online.
Rod and I have mentioned there's going to be a Marshall-style plan with Russia, which will be very good for Russia, very good for Europe, very good for America. This president knows how to build things, and that's what he's doing. But he's a guy that uses a carrot or a stick, and if you don't take the carrot, he's going to hit you with the stick. That's the way this president plays, time and time again.
As Chuck
Absolutely.
Schumer is discovering.
Yes, Chuck is finding out how hard that stick is right about now. Rod, are we close to 300,000 on X followers yet? We got to get you there. Are we there yet?
Very close. Very close.
Excellent.
I'm at over 275,000. Would love to have everybody there. And you can find me on X, but you can also find X through rodmartin.org, where we have about 25,000 subscribers to our long form content, which gives you the in-depth analysis you honestly can't get anywhere else.
The Martin Report. I look forward to every morning, noon, and night in my inbox. Thank you for all you do, Rod. And Dean, where can we find you online?
OwenCPA.com. The jump online, there's a landing page, connect with my team. We are coming into the fourth quarter. This is getting to the end of the year. We need to do our planning. Business owners, pre-retirees, you need to be doing your tax planning. It doesn't cost a dime to reach out and see if we can help and just have a conversation. We said the friendship and the fellowship and the advice is always free. So give us a call, check us out online, connect with my team. Let's figure out how to disinherit the government and not your kids.
Attaboy. Love that. Rod Martin, Dean Owen, thank you guys so very much for all that you do, and thanks for being a part of the Business Pulse. Brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, online at freedomchamber.net.
My name is Dean Owen. I'm a CPA, I have a master's degree in taxation and a personal financial specialist. Tax laws are always changing. That's why you need a tax strategist, not just a tax preparer. You need someone to help you pay the least amount of tax legally, because if your business and retirement tax planning is not tax smart, it's probably tax dumb. Let's fix that today. Call me. Let's disinherit the government and not your kids. That's what my team and I do. This is who we are. I'm a combat veteran, unapologetically American, unapologetically pro-God, pro-life, and pro-Second Amendment. If those are the values you seek in a tax and money advisor, call us. Again, let's disinherit the government and not your kids. We're not afraid to share our values, and we share them with you.